Hello, I'm Rebecca of the Garden Gate Flower Company.
And I'm Grace of Grace Alexander Flowers.
And we've come together to create Stuart and Alexander Gather at the Garden Gate.
A podcast taking you behind the scenes of two gardens, what we've been up to inside, outside and out and about.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Stuart and Alexander podcast, Gather at the Garden Gate. Lovely to be here of an afternoon with lovely Becca. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, Grace?
Yes, I'm very well.
Very well. It's sunny.
It's so funny us having the weather that's 2 hours apart because we can talk about the weather, but in retrospect. But I don't know about you, but oh my God, the rain yesterday just hammered down.
So it's interesting. I've just been this morning very housebound with calls to clients. And just before I came on the podcast, I decided to walk out into the woods by the side of me. And the pondweed that we get in the river just next to us, I suddenly realised had obviously really swelled up overnight. And it's a bit of a floodplain, so it goes up and down. I didn't notice it as I walked across it on the way. But when I came back, I was like, oh, goodness, it was really high. But the moon, did you see the moon last night?
Yes.
Wasn't that? I even sent my husband back out of bed because I thought we'd left the outdoor light on. In the garden. I was like, your turn. You've left it on.
Oh, God.
It's the moon, Becca, for goodness sake.
It's definitely getting like that. So I went to pick up my husband from work yesterday because it was just, he cycles to and from the hospital and it was just horrendous. I did volunteer to go and pick him up. But yeah, the evenings, dog walking is now tricky. He's looking out the window at 6 o'clock thinking, oh my goodness, it's pitch black.
Missed your window. You've missed your window.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, I know. I find this time of day really shortens what you can do if you have animals. You kind of need to bring everything in by a couple of hours, which is a little bit depressing. But yeah, the moon was beautiful. I feel like really randomly, I'm gonna, because I know you've got really exciting outs. So I am unseasonably going to give you a hilarious in because it's very appropriate given the fact that I've gone back to wearing at the moment just a t-shirt because it was too hot to wear my knitwear. I have been looking at my winter socks. I love a winter sock.
Oh God, I love a winter sock.
Yeah. So for me, you know this because I might have been the only person that went to Chelsea last year and it was quite warm, wasn't it? And bought wool socks. Do you remember?
You were so cold.
Yeah, it was a bit cold. It was that really weird weather. It's that spring weather when it looks like it's warm and it's not, isn't it? Let's be honest. But it was quite nice at times.
It was lovely.
Yeah, I know. So I have every year I buy a couple of pairs, literally just two, but I love a proper wool sock. I like a bamboo sock in summer and I like a wool sock in winter. And when we were at Chelsea, it was the Dartmoor Shepherd, wasn't it? That had those
lovely...
it was. Yeah. Had those lovely Arbonne socks. And they are really beautiful. And I bought a pair from there and I'm going to go in for another couple of them, I think, this year. I really like them.
I will put a link in the show notes to Becca socks, but also I have got the most beautiful Irish moss green socks. I bought some Blunstones years ago, and it was one of those things where it's just, would you like a pair of socks? And I was like, all right, then go on, add a pair of socks. And they were life-changingly beautiful. I do have quite a collection of socks. My husband went cycling in one of the stans, Kyrgyzstan or Kyrgyzstan. He won't listen to this, so it won't matter that I can't remember which stan he went to.
Whatever. Yeah.
Anyway. And on the last day, he went to a market and he spent hours trawling this market for something that I'd like. And he knew that the only thing that he should bring back are these handmade, incredibly felty, beautiful socks. So yes, they are very precious. But then I put them in Wellingtons and I wear holes in them. And then I think, oh, that was sad. But yeah.
I've got another really good recommendation on the sock front for everybody because I know that everybody that listens to us are probably gardeners and do wear Blunderstones and boots and stuff because all very sensible people on this podcast. Corrymore. Now they are brilliant. And I found their socks on a trip once, taking my son to go and play rugby towards Dorset direction, or it was in Dorset. And it was a farm shop. It was a farm shop on that Dorset Road. They have Corrymore. Now, Corrymore socks, they have got reinforced toes and heels.
Are they the goat ones?
You
But I can't work
need-
out if it's Corrymore with an I or with a Y.
It's
so I'm
Corrymore with a
struggling.
Y. It's Corrymore with a Y, and I'm just gonna see whilst we're online when I can tell you which one there. I think it's either the Explorer or the Adventurer, but you need to just get the ones that have got. Well, I think the Explorer look a bit high. They're a bit long.
Oh, God. The show notes are
Well,
going to take me forever this week. I'm going to have to
I
put all
know
these
the
links
show
to
notes.
it.
The show notes. I'll try and help you. But Corrymore, it's the companion ones. That's what they're called. It's the companion socks.
Right.
And they are a calf-length socks, and they've got a cushioned sole with reinforced heel and a ribbed leg. Well, you just can't go wrong. Perfect for walking, hiking, gardening, and ideal for industrial and heavy everyday wear.
Oh, boots and shoes. Am I going to have to tick the box that says there's PR in this?
No, not really.
No money has
we
changed
don't.
hands.
No, I have to say I've not had any gifts from them at all. As a disclaimer, I've not had any gifts, but I've been buying those. I've been buying those socks for a number of years now, and I honestly wear them in my Bloodstones. I wear them all winter long, and I have not worn a hole in the heel of those socks, and I wear them a lot.
Well, I confess, I wear mine in bed. That's the only time I wear a proper wool sock.
No, I don't. That's just weird.
What? Putting bed socks on?
Yeah,
Best feeling.
Yeah,
You're going to tell me you get too hot now with your silk pajamas and all that business.
Yeah, I
but
probably
yeah.
do. No, I would prefer to go in for a hot water bottle instead.
I've got a bit intimate, hasn't it?
Doesn't it? I know exactly. So anyway, that is basically. I think it is.
Yeah.
I've gone back into a bamboo sock today 'cause it's so warm.
Gosh, that's it. So it's unseasonably warm today, but really very lovely, which has meant that my in is a sort of hybrid in and out, because although I'm doing the thing outside, as soon as it's done, I'm going to bring everything inside.
Okay.
So I've cleared as much space as I can inside the house for sweet peas. So
okay.
I did declare it Sweet Pea Sunday last week. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was last week.
But I have got so many sweet peas to sow. I'm going to do a final count of how many varieties that I've got, but I think we're well over 60 now.
Can we still sow some now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I might do in a couple more.
Yeah. So have
Okay.
a look. The Gather Shop has got some additional extra loveliness, because where I've got lots of sweet pea that I've brought in of new and interesting varieties. So, for example, I've just opened a box literally just now with William and Catherine. Don't you know that one?
No.
Which is very nice. It's
Is
a
it
bit salmon
white?
pink. So,
No.
it's salmon pink. Do you want Lisa Marie, plum on silver?
No.
Rebecca, which is a cream. So
Oh.
lots of different suppliers. I've gone for the really niche ones. So hopefully,
It's quite
Eagle,
nice.
sweet peas, and Somerset sweet peas. So hopefully just trying to get some of those new and interesting different ones. So
Ooh.
yeah, so I've been literally just posting compost into root trainers all morning, just getting
Yeah.
everything ready, and then I can label.
Great. How do
Yeah.
you do yours? Do you have an actual method that you think is? I try different things every year, and some things work and some things don't. I've gone back to a 9 centimetre pot with 3.
I have not got room for everything because I'm doing
No, I can imagine.
50 of each, and I've got
Okay.
60 varieties. I haven't. I've got many pots, hilariously, but I haven't got enough room to put that many pots.
Fair play.
So I'm doing root trainers for the really precious ones, but I have also got Eagle sweet peas. Have developed these new sort of little sleeves, so they're the best of. They're sort of biodegradable plastic, so you can plant them straight in the ground. I'm not sure if I will. I'll see how they're looking when the time comes. So they're the best of a loo roll inner, but with a little bit more structural integrity, shall we say? Because loo roll inners do tend to go soggy and just collapse.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try those for the first time this year. I am filming my sweet pea sowing, so there'll be a sweet pea sowing mini course, which I will be releasing over the next week or so.
Yeah.
Which will have all my hints and tips.
Ooh,
So,
that
yeah.
sounds good.
Because no, I don't change how I do it. I just developed a way that works, and then that's
I suppose I think you're right. It is a space thing, and I sometimes. Last year they got in a real right tangle when I did root trainers, and I wondered whether this time I would put them in 9 centimetre pots and have some more control over them. I'm not entirely sure. At the moment, they're looking like soldiers. They look amazing.
Enough that stage. Yeah.
I know, I do too. They just look they're really trying really hard to look really good, and then they just look like rogue teenagers, and they just look dreadful. I'm not looking forward to that stage. I think at that stage I might actually just take them somewhere else.
Yeah. They should be cold as well. So you miss out on that really straggly, sort of slightly weird stage if you can get them cold enough, because it just checks their
Right.
growth. And they put all of that energy into the root ball, which is what you really want, because you want them to really head off towards the sky as soon as you get them out in the warm of the spring.
So I need to stop them
Yes.
growing and put on their height and put on their roots, don't I, really?
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
Of course, and you've got the mouse issue. So at the moment, I'm just debating how I'm going to protect mine from mice.
But the mice issue is really in the early stages, though, is it not? Do you
I
not find?
thought that. I thought that. And I remember writing a sweet pea growing guide, and I very confidently said that once the plant is growing, there isn't that much goodness in the seeds, so mice would generally leave it alone. And then a mouse came and took all of my sweet peas, which were 6 weeks into growth, and I thought I felt such an idiot.
Oh,
Yes.
that's really
So
interesting. So they were like, did they eat the tops or did they eat the roots or what did they go
they
for? Did
pulled
go-
the whole plant out of the compost and
So I could
nibbled
smell
at
it.
the seed. So
Oh,
yeah, it was-
really?
yeah, so the whole plant was snapped in
Destroyed.
half, basically. And actually, just before I came on, just weeding a new bed to put some spring flowers in, I found a little nest of sweet pea seed casing, which is clearly, I've got a mouse that's really loving the fact that I grow a lot of seed. And I was wondering where all my seed had gone, because I did a first collect, probably mid-September. And I thought, a couple more weeks and this second lot of seed will all be ready. And they just kept disappearing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I think the mice have been just climbing up the trellis and
in a way.
yeah.
Hilarious.
Anyway.
Oh.
So that's just sort of combined in and out, really.
Oh, well, I have a new fence.
Gosh.
So I don't know if anyone has possibly been listening to this right at the very beginning of the Stuart Alexander podcast, season 1. I'm sure I mentioned it back then. I have a fence with a neighbour, which has taken a long time to be replaced. It's the neighbour's fence to replace, so there's not much you can do, is there? You've got to be patient. But unfortunately, their side was very much covered in shrubs, but our side that's where we have our seat and our patio. By the way, I hate the word patio. I feel, do you know what I mean? I don't want a patio. What can we call it instead of a patio? It just sounds
Courtyard. A courtyard.
little
Terrace?
courtyards. The courtyard seating area. That's what we're going to call it. So we have a courtyard. I'm such a snob, aren't I? It's hilarious. We have a seating area that is up against, that's by the fence, and we've never planted there. The water table's really high, and it's actually a north-facing side as well. So although we put our seats the other way, so we face the sun. Anything that we grow would just sit up the top of the fence. So it's never been worth doing. So we've had to bide our time. It's been 2.5 years, and it's finally been done. It's 2.5 years, and it was built, taken down, and put up. I think the quickest I've ever seen 2 chaps put a fence up. I was amazed. I was amazed. It didn't even take a day. They did such a good job. So now funny enough, there was a jasmine in the corner that our cottages used to be open at the front. All those old cottages used to almost run down the front, probably like yours did as well.
Yeah.
But now there's a partition there. So this one jasmine was almost split between the 2 houses, and my neighbour, I think, had dug it out years ago, her side, and I just left it. But it's one of those I would call insignificant jasmines, and I cannot remember the name, but it's the one with the little tiny pink flower. It's just foliage and barely ever flowers. So I've actually pulled it out, and I'm thinking, having consulted with Becky, I'm realising that Becky gets as much talk about as Britt does on here. Becky, my gardening friend, I'm consulted with her, and I think I'm going to put an Akebia, a white one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so funny you should talk about Akebias, because I was just standing next to the greenhouse and I was chatting to Naomi and saying, so my husband was lying in bed this morning and he gets his phone sends him those memories from, this day.
This day. Yeah.
And he always shows me the pictures of the dogs. I never have my glasses on at that time in the morning and I haven't got my contacts in. So I'd say, that's nice. But one of the pictures was I'd planted a load of perennials in that bed. In fact, Naomi and I did it. And 3-4 years ago, today, and every single one of them just disappeared, apart from a couple of anemones and something else. Naomi and I were talking about it today, and we were just looking at it and saying, I wonder why. Is it really wet? Is it really clay? What was going on that they just never grew and they just disappeared? Because I've got an Akebia in there. If it could reach the house from 30 metres away, it would be making its way there. It is massive.
Oh, really?
So if
Ooh.
it's happy, oh
It
my
loves
goodness,
it.
they are triffids.
Oh,
Yes.
really? Okay, that's nice. Because at the moment, I'm loving my fence. I mean, it's a weird one. It's nothing really
You've got a
overly
planter up against it as well, haven't you?
I've got my 2 beautiful planters. Need to dig out, and I'll be putting bulbs in soon. But I'm enjoying the fact that it's not a grubby old fence,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to paint it. It's just worn boards. That's all it is. And I'm actually going to leave it because it actually just looks very nice. I'm liking the minimal look at the moment, but I did think it does look a bit stark. So probably a vine over it would be quite nice. So I think that is what I'm going to go out with at some stage I'm going to go to my local garden centres and see if I can see one. If not, there are some good online companies that have got them. So that is my term.
Yeah, I'm a great fan of an Akebia. I have both the trifoliata and is it stinkifolia, the 5-leaved ones? I have one of each. And actually, they make the loveliest winter wreaths. Because
of course they do. Yeah.
They've got a curl to the shape of the vines. And when their leaves come off, you can weave them in the most, and they last forever.
We did have one at the farm on the back wall. And I think we had that, and we had also a passion vine, and it did all get a little bit over the top at the back. I do remember catching glimpses of it and just thinking, gosh, it's exquisitely beautiful. So I'm very excited about that. I mean, obviously, I've just been out doing general amounts of like mulching and things like that, but I just thought that was far more interesting to share with you. My christening of my new fence. I haven't been out and smashed a glass of champagne against it yet, but I sort of feel like we can't confide. The neighbour might have something to say though if I did that about a fence. But anyway.
Well, talking of champagne,
definitely on Grace to your, and I haven't gotten this out week, and I think it's probably quite a good week to not have an out when your friend's got the biggest out that is going. So I'm going to sit back. Well, I'm sitting back. I'm going to hand you over to Grace, and she's going to tell us what she's been doing.
I am jiggling in my chair with anticipation to tell you all about it. So we recorded last week's podcast a little bit early because I was going out on Thursday, and it is only a week today. So a week today at this time, I just sat down in Tetbury for a quick coffee with Britt Willoughby, which was lovely because she was completely unfazed by what I was going to go and do. And I was slightly terrified at that stage because it was the launch party for Scribehound Gardening. 30 of the best garden writers in the UK today writing a piece of writing once a month. So readers get every single day something in their inbox from a lovely garden writer. And I'm so incredibly honoured and privileged to be part of it. But there is a bit of me that was a bit like, oh my God, really? Me? God, this is a big deal.
The syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, which is not usually my thing. I don't like to sound arrogant, but I'm not one for imposter syndrome. But in this particular case, I was. But I arrived, and Sue Biggs, ex of the RHS and absolutely leading light in the horticultural world, literally threw her arms around me and was like, oh my God, thank goodness you're here. And it just didn't stop being lovely from them. It was just the most. There was not a minute where I didn't think, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so much fun. And every single person was utterly lovely. There was a bit of me thinking, am I going to be a bit like left out? I don't work in telly. Everyone's going to know each other.
I do know what you mean. You see them in the same settings, don't you? Alan Titchmarsh and all that. Do you know what I mean? You see them in the same environments with each other. And I could imagine that feeling of, not that do you fit, but do you know what I mean? That is a different walk of people, isn't it?
Yes.
To our sort of florally world, really. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. But there wasn't a second where I didn't think this isn't just the loveliest group of people in the loveliest settings. So we had a garden tour around Ozleworth Park, which was amazing. A really beautiful private garden, which we were really lucky to be shown around by the gardener who'd been there 30 years. Which was wonderful.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yes, it was amazing. And then we got back and we had champagne and canapes, and that was lovely. And everyone was just milling around and chatting and catching up. And we did little interviews and on camera. And I stood next to Joe Swift, and I was like, oh my God, pinch me. I am dreaming.
I think the last time we saw Joe Swift, can you remember? Do you remember when we saw the picture?
So big sense. I'm sure he doesn't listen to this podcast.
No.
James, if you're listening, don't tell him to. So he turned to me and he said, "Oh, have we met?" And I said, "Oh, I walked past you at Chelsea. No, you walked past me at Chelsea." And he said, "Oh God, that makes me sound like a bit of a..." I said, "No, actually, I had turned to look at Jo Wiley's dress and nearly walked into you and you held the door open for me. So actually, you were absolutely the gent in the situation." And because do you remember Jo Wiley's dress was amazing?
I do
So,
remember you. But
yeah,
I just
I just remember him being lovely and holding the door open. So,
I think
I was too busy thinking about why don't we all live a life like Joan Collins still by that stage, I think.
the Joan Collins was amazing. Exactly. Yeah, she was huddled inside, wasn't she?
She
With an
was.
entourage of other men that stood up when she sat down or moved.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Alan did that.
Oh, did
I came in to say goodbye when I was leaving and he did that thing where he just half stood up for me just because I'd entered the space and it was just like, oh my God, that's
so cute.
class for you.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Alan.
Yeah, so we did all that and then we went back to the most amazing hotel and spa, Calcot, in just near Tetbury. And the food was amazing. The company was amazing. The champagne was amazing. Everything was just...
ferried around. Were you ferried? How? I'm just thinking of the logistics. Hang on a minute. There's the logistics bit I don't understand. So you were drinking lots of champagne and eating canapes, and then you were ferried to the...
Yes.
Really?
So I arrived thinking I was absolutely on time. So it said transport at 4:15 and I arrived at 3 minutes past 4 and almost everybody had gone. So there was only a couple of us left and George, who is part of Scribeland, he drove us in his car. So I had literally arrived. I'd done that thing where I couldn't really find anyone. And I was in the, because it's so huge, I was in the wrong place. But anyway, somebody very kindly guided me and so I was feeling a bit disorientated and a bit anxious and a bit, oh my God, I thought I was on time, but it turns out I'm late.
No.
And within 5 minutes of starting this event, I was in lovely George's car. I was sat in the middle on the back seat and I had Adderley Richmond on my left and Eric Anderson on my right. And I just thought, I do think I'm dreaming. This is just bizarre. And then I had to tell Adderley that my husband thought she was the best thing on Gardeners World, which of course Eric choked and was a bit like, and I said, no, but you're my friend. But I had to tell her because he would have never forgiven me if I hadn't told her because she's so incredibly, she exudes this incredible, competent, very together aura, which she does in real life too, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's how I got ferried there. And then James Alexander Sinclair drove me back.
Oh. And then you had a nice meal and...
Incredible. Just beautiful. Absolutely. The food was just faultless. I had a long conversation about Tom and Mel of Westcombe because every restaurant I've been to in the last 2 years has had Westcombe cheddar on their menu. It's never just cheddar. Westcombe cheddar. So I had Westcombe cheddar souffle to start, and then I had venison, which was just insane. So I was very well behaved and just managed to keep a bit of lid on my excitement and didn't drink too much because actually I drove home afterwards. So I didn't drink at all, actually. But I wanted to remember every moment of the day. And because I'm not an effusive person. Like I say things that are gorgeous and amazing and lovely a lot, but I'm pretty level-headed. This was one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
Whoa.
It was just, you know, when you go to a party and it just feels like everyone's looking slightly over your shoulder and it's all very superficial and it's all a bit, it's fun and everything, but you just think it's that really. It felt being in a room of people who cared about all the same things, wanted to talk about all the same things, had so many interests in common that you couldn't fail to stumble across something that you were just like, oh my goodness, yes, of course, let's talk about that. And that's really interesting. And what do you think about this? And then make them all ever so slightly tipsy and make them really funny people.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they all decide to write as well, won't it? In a way, very interesting to see what you write as well, because it is this whole writing about whatever they want to write about, really, without any sort of boundaries or guides. And I hadn't really thought about it before, but I suppose a lot of them are used to having to write for publications, but they're always led, aren't they? Whenever I've had to write anything for anybody, it's always been their brief. Could you talk to us about this? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, fine. And you do it, you follow. And sometimes you do have the parameters to push it slightly because actually this is not really in keeping with what I do or whatever. But actually it must be quite liberating for them to be able to to write about whatever they want to write about, or whether it's controversial or not in the gardening world as well.
Yeah, I think it's not so much about controversies. It's just any traditional publication, being book or print media or anything like that. There's always a push towards knowledge. Yes. And that knowledge being very slightly lowest common denominator, quite project-based. They want the reader to leave thinking, I know how to do something now. And actually, I think once you get past how do you direct sow and how prune and clematis, depending on what group it is, once you've got past that, I think what people want is something so much more. And for me, it's very different because I've had Gather for nearly 5 years now, and I write whatever I like. I just write. So it isn't a novelty for me because I've had such liberty because
you have,
I'm my own boss and I publish my own stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are, I won't name her, but I can think of one writer particularly who has got so much that is so important to say, and she cannot find a publisher who will publish her work because it's just not palatable in the way that they see it.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Which she has such a contribution to make to our understanding and our knowledge, and she can't find a place to share that.
Yeah, that's sad, isn't it? She should cross-publish.
I have said that. that. In fact, I said that I would publish her in Gather if she would, but
that's right.
For some reason that hasn't happened. But
no, that's it. So this is very exciting. Have you got more out owls planned then for next week? I'm already slightly nervous about out owls next week, given that's what you have. I think at 3, we've almost peaked too soon. Everyone could just stop listening now, you know?
I am going on Monday evening. I'm going to go and see James Rebanks. Did you say it? Rebanks? Rebanks?
Yeah.
Rebanks. Be interviewed by Julius Roberts in Exeter Cornhouse. So that's quite exciting. I'm looking forward to that. It was a very last minute invite from, it wasn't last minute, but an invite from Joanna Games. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I've got a couple of really nice things coming up actually. Yeah, Flora Roberts' Private View. That's not for a little while actually. I'm just trying to pack everything into the podcast season because that's the time stuff, but it feels it's wasted if it's not what's.
No, exactly. I know exactly. Mine at the moment are very much. I have got quite an interesting one potentially coming up, which I possibly should be quite nice. But it's all, I feel like my season, it's always at this time of year down here in Cornwall, everything starts to feel like everyone's just putting everything to bed. That's the thing. Even myself, I'm putting myself to bed. And it's fun. Hilariously, I think my phone must be listening to me because ever since I talked about loungewear and get the clocks changing, which will be happening soon, Becca gets into sort of loungewear from about 3 PM. I've been literally bombarded with sponsorship for loungewear. So much so that I was thinking about sending it to you, going, look, see, you can make loungewear look nice.
God, and then I'll get it.
Yeah, this is going to be it, isn't it? Socks and loungewear. You're not going to really get me out from about 3 PM. Oh, it's lovely to hear, Grace, about what you've been up to. That is really, and you will link in the show notes as well.
Yeah, huge thank you to Scribe Hound Gardening and to everyone involved. They didn't have to do such an amazing event to start it because I think it's going to be brilliant, whatever. But I'm really grateful and part of it to be invited, and it was just such an amazing evening. So yes, absolutely special offer on at the moment if you want to join now, which is £1 for the first month, and then it's half price for the first year. So
what is half price? Can I be really?
It's £42 for the year.
Yeah, okay. £42 for the year, so it's half price.
Peanuts. Absolute peanuts. £42 for a whole year's worth of content, and that is 365 emails from 30 of the best garden writers in the UK today, which that is not to be sneezed at.
No, it's not.
Sarah Raven. Sarah Raven.
Was Sarah Raven there? I don't.
No, she wasn't. No,
she wasn't. No. Okay.
Alice Fowler was there.
I saw Alice Fowler was there. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Such.
Was she wearing toast? She always wears toast outfits.
She did look very toasty. I'm not sure it was toast, but it was toast style.
Toast style. Yeah. I saw her at Port Eliot a few years ago, and I was she was doing loads of things with fermenting. And it was really good. It was really interesting. But I slightly couldn't take my eyes off. I can't remember whether she had a jacket or a dress on. Whatever she was wearing, I slightly couldn't stop looking at that, which was a bit distracting.
She is lovely. So I went on a writing course at Nancy Beds.
Yes, she did.
With her. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not saying I know her, but she did come up and say hello, and we had a chat and a bit of a hug. Everyone hugged. It was so huggy, so huggy. I went up to Mark Diacono and said, do you know what I feel like? Because we know lots of the same people and he's 20 minutes away from me. And I said, I'm not sure if I actually ever met. And he just sort of gave me a big hug and said, well, we have now, sort of thing. And it was
I like that. I love that.
I had more hugs in the space of 4 hours. And I think probably I can have in the last 6 months. It was lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Garden people are great people. Garden people are great people. We've always said it.
I've said it on the podcast before. It's the reason why I keep going with this is because
garden people are lovely people.
Garden people are lovely people. Flower people are lovely people. Garden people are lovely people.
Yeah.
Our podcast listeners are lovely people.
Oh, listen, it's been lovely hearing about it. We will be back next week. This will be obviously coming out at the weekend. Get them launched onto Spotify, Apple, I don't know, various places, haven't we? And there is YouTube, and there is links. We do have an Instagram account at Stuart and Alexander, isn't it? So do go and have a look at that if you want to follow. That just gives you a bit of a prompt as to when they are.
You're just going to share pictures of socks and loungewear there, aren't you?
I know. Do you know what? That's what when I get mine, I will be ordering them hopefully in the next few days. I've got to consult with Mum because obviously Mum and I do the ordering together. She likes her woolly socks too, so we'll get her a couple of pairs. I will definitely do a picture on stories for you to see my choice of woolly socks for the winter. How exciting!
Don't let that stop you following if you're interested in our Instagram.
Exactly. But it's lovely to chat to you. I'm going to go outside now and go and check on those sweet peas that are still stood up like soldiers.
Yes.
All right.
Lovely.
All right. Take care. Nice to chat. Bye.
Bye.